Welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and in this episode, we are taking a look at the brand new 5-inch action figures from McFarlane Toys of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Regular viewers of the channel know that we here at Nerd News Today are huge Avatar fans. We love the series, we reviewed a whole lot of different merchandise from it, and as far as action figures go, we've been looking lately at the Diamond Select figures, because that's been the line that's been doing them. They are in the 7-inch scale, and now here comes McFarlane doing their versions of Avatar, but now in the 5-inch scale. However, we should add, not to be outdone, McFarlane is doing 7-inch versions also. We will probably not be reviewing those here because, to be quite honest, I've seen them in stores, and while they look good, I'm pretty happy with what Diamond Select is doing, and I really don't need to have two different figures in that scale of the same people. So yeah, we're going to be sticking with 5-inch figures, I think, for the McFarlane stuff because, well, we've never actually looked at any of the 5-inch figures before from McFarlane. So to me, this is going to be basically a twofold review. It's seeing how McFarlane Toys is handling the Avatar license, and also seeing how their 5-inch figures square up compared to other 5-inch figures, or really just other figures in that market. 5-inch is kind of like this new disruptor. It's this weird in-between size, because you've got people doing the reaction style 3 3/4-inch figures, which are like classic G.I. Joe sized, as well as really the more mainstream 6-inch size, which is like your Marvel Legends, your WWE Elites, and there's a company like McFarlane Toys and like Diamond Select, who we already mentioned, who are doing things in the 7-inch scale. So there's a bunch of different things going on, but 5-inch has been kind of this new, interesting place for action figures, because we've seen folks like the Loyal Subjects kind of barge in and really disrupt the figure market with that 5-inch thing. So McFarlane's now part of that too, and I should add as well, another big important point here, is that all the figures we're looking at here, these are only $10 each. Each figure is only $10. Oppa, of course, will be more expensive because he's larger, but the figures are only $10. So I think that's a really important factor to mention here, because that's another thing I'm really curious about, is how much detail and how much stuff are they basically packing into a $10 figure. So who is part of this debut wave for McFarlane Toys? Well, as you guys can already see here, we've got the Avatar himself, Aang. We have Katara. We have Zuko. We have Sokka. And most importantly, we have Oppa. And before I even start actually reviewing anything here, this is like one of the biggest pluses that McFarlane already gets off the bat. The fact that they actually made an Oppa, not quite necessarily in scale from how it looks with how he should be, but still, they made an Oppa as part of this first wave. Diamond Select sure has not done that, and I don't think they're going to. So the fact that we get Oppa right off the bat, that is really awesome. So let's talk about this packaging real quick before we get all these guys out of the boxes. And the packaging is really nice, very simple, very small, because these are 5-inch figures, and they've kept that packaging nice and compact as much as the figures are. One of the things I like about them, though, is if you are mint on card, they have this really cool 3D design that's actually built into all the packages here. You guys can kind of see it as all these figures rotate around. It makes them very different. It's not just like a flat box like you get with other companies. It's actually got some unique detail to it. So if you are mint on card, they're going to look really interesting when they're lined up on display, as opposed to everything else you've got in your collections. It's a very large bubble, so you can see everything that your toy is getting, which is not necessarily a lot of things, but it's some stuff in there. And as the figures will rotate now, you can also see what the back of the packaging looks like, which includes a full head-to-toe illustration of each of the characters here, as well as a very good bio for everybody. I gotta say, I'm actually really impressed by the amount of bio information that we're getting on the back of each of these toys. I didn't expect to see that much information, but it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty decent. And I say that because these days a lot of companies don't even bother doing anything like that. They don't really put any bio information out there. Diamond Select does do that. A lot of other companies, they really don't care to. So it's nice to see some actual information here, and it's more than just like a single sentence like you'd see with a Marvel Legend or even a WWE Elite. There's actually some good info here. If you're buying these, of course, you already know everything there is to know about Avatar: The Last Airbender, but still, it's just a good detail to have. But how does our Oppa fare in the box department? Well, as you guys can see, it's completely different. In fact, it doesn't use any plastic whatsoever. It is all cardboard. And that's cool because it lets you actually see and feel and touch Oppa, as opposed to just looking at him behind a piece of plastic. We're going to talk a lot more about Oppa, of course, once he's out of the box, but as far as the package goes, I think it's pretty spectacular. It's a really nice showpiece, even still in the box. So that's just a really great note to kick things off with here. So that's all I've got to say about the packaging here. And of course, I'm not a mint card collector anyway, so none of that really matters to me. So on that note, let's go ahead and get these figures and Oppa all out of the boxes and take a closer look at them from all angles. And we're back, and here are our McFarlane Avatar figures out of the packaging in all of their 5 inches of glory. Well, that actually made this sound really weird and awkward, but yeah, here we go. The figures are out of the package now, and you can see, I think the first thing that's kind of important is the scale. You can see that they're actually, I think, not quite in scale. I mean, they are not too far off from each other, but yeah, I don't think Aang should actually be as tall as Katara at this point, and Katara is really not much taller or different. Really, the difference between the heights is very minimal here. If that's really something that's important to you, that's just a note. I mean, you can see there is a small height difference in them, but it's very, very minor. I'm not necessarily a stickler for things like heights, but I know when we looked at the Diamond Select figures, which we're going to be comparing them to in a little bit, you know, height was one of the things a lot of folks commented on. So yeah, I just want to give you guys a little quick glimpse of how these all kind of size up with each other. And there's not much of a difference, unfortunately. So if that's important to you, well, sorry, guys. But let's focus on something else here, and that would be the likenesses, because these figures have really good likenesses. I'm very impressed by them. They really capture that cartoony look that all the characters have. I think they look spot on, and in some ways, I kind of actually like the faces, I think, a little bit more than Diamond. I gotta look at those again once we get to them. But they look very good, like they really look much more, I think, from the cartoon than the Diamond Select figures did. The paint job is also fairly clean on all of these figures, too. I mean, I'm gonna just take Sokka, for example, here. Not really much slop. It's very nicely painted, very nicely layered, so there's not a lot of like excess paint in places. It's looking pretty sharp. Same thing here with Zuko. You can see, I mean, even with the scar, which is a place where you could potentially have some slop and things like that happening, but no, it's looking pretty clean, all things considered. Now let's spend some time on the outfits here, which are, again, also pretty accurate. They did some really interesting things here, but before we do get to that, I think it's important to make a note here about my Aang's legs. And you might be wondering, hey, why is Aang so, like, bow-legged looking right here? Well, these figures all have a little bit of a problem standing. That's something I noticed here. Like, Katara gave me some issues, too. Sokka was easily the sturdiest in terms of standing up. Zuko was not too terrible either. I just had to get his feet in a certain spot, but as for Katara and Aang, they gave me some issues here. It might be because Katara's feet are very tiny, and that makes it hard to support her weight. Aang is probably the same thing. I don't know. This literally took me, though, 10 minutes to actually get him in this pose, and it looks kind of awkward and terrible. So, yeah, that's what it took, and unfortunately, actually I'll show it with Katara, and hopefully she can get back down. These figures don't have any holes for their feet, so meaning there's like no bases for them. So when you stand them up, that's pretty much it. You gotta hope for the best, and well, I just lost both of them, so yeah, off to a good start here. Let me go fix that. As I've said in other toy review videos, user mileage may vary, and this is one of those instances where your Aang might stand up better, your Katara might stand up better, but on the other hand, your Zuko or Sokka might stand up worse. So I don't really know what to tell you guys there about that. I'm just letting you know that, yeah, that is a little bit of an issue for me here, and the fact that there is a lack of any holes in their feet to put them on bases is kind of a problem. Now let's spend some time talking about these outfits, which to me, those are actually really great, and I wish I can kind of spin these two around, but I'm so afraid to move them. But yeah, let's talk about Aang first. In terms of accuracy for the show, really good, and just very nice texture too. That's something that has impressed me on all of these figures that we're going to see, but very, very nice texture on all their outfits. It's very different in each character, especially now I'm going to move over to Katara, and you can see like her skirt has this like really nice texture on it. Same thing with her top. Just lots of texture, and that's really cool. And by the way, nice little touch there with her necklace. Just want to point that out too. Sokka as well, like not as much texture on him necessarily, but still a lot going on. And again, just want to point out how clean the paint job is on all of these figures here. Now, Zuko, I think he has probably the best looking outfit in terms of texture, design, everything on it, because there's a lot going on here. I mean, he's got this kind of leathery texture on this section. We've got some design on the chest piece. There's a fabric look on the gray part, the gray shirt. His little tunic, I guess. I don't really know what to call that here. This section here, really different texture also. There's a lot going on with the Zuko. To be honest, I think the Zuko for me might be the standout figure in this wave, but they're all quite nice. I mean, I do have to admit, despite the fact that getting them to stand is quite an issue, at least for 2 of the 4 figures here, they're all really great looking. They're all very spectacular in terms of how they're sculpted, the design, the paint, the heads. I mean, this is some really good stuff here. And again, I want to point out these are $10 figures each. So you can get the entire set here for 40 bucks. Chances are you can probably get them on sale in a few months if you can still find them, because I think these might be pretty scarce right now. But yeah, they're definitely worth getting just based on this alone. I mean, these are very nice looking. And that, by the way, that's not all you guys get here, because they each have accessories. So let's see how this is going to work now with keep them to stand. But yeah. Aang, of course, has his glider staff. So there is a version of this figure. They basically did a re-release from day one where you can spend, I think it's like $5 more to get the actual glider fully extended. I did not want to do that. I don't really care that much about the glider, but you do get this right here. Katara comes with a piece of water, basically. She can water bend, which is kind of nice. I would love to put this in her hand. I might try later on, but again, like getting her to stand has been such an issue, and this is a pretty heavy, thick piece of plastic, so I don't know how well she could actually hold this thing up here, but nice that they include it. Now, Sokka comes with a boomerang. That's his accessory, and it's a nice-looking boomerang, very nicely painted, and he does, in fact, have a little pouch to put it in. So we can go ahead and actually try that, see how it fits in there. Looks like it should be no issues. Yeah, there you go. Actually, I can slide it even more. Perfect fit for the boomerang pouch. That's really nice. Nice touch there. Appreciate that. And finally, Fire Lord Zuko. He comes with not 1, but 2 flaming things, which you can, in fact, put in his hands. And because he actually is one of the sturdier figures here, let's actually try and get these accessories in there. And having some issues actually off the bat. So the one thing I can say about these figures is, you know how, we're going to be making a lot of comparisons to Diamond Select toys here, but when I review Diamond figures, I usually say that they're very stiff out the box, and they are usually some of the stiffest toys out of the box ever. These take the cake. I'm actually bending these flames in his hands, so yeah, when I say stiff out the box, the joints are super stiff. They are incredibly stiff. I'll show you, in fact, an articulation right now. Joints are super stiff. You can hear them snapping. The head's not so bad here in Zuko. Actually, Zuko's kind of loose, although you can hear those snaps. Those are rough snaps. Ball joints are pretty decent. Maybe I'll pick someone else here. That is one thing in terms of articulation that 3 of these 4 figures have problems with. And yeah, these 3 right here, their legs can't really move that easily because they all have something blocking it. All their little things here do kind of block it, although Sokka and Katara do both have like slits in the sides, so you can potentially get some more posing, but it's going to still get in the way quite a great deal. Aang is the best articulated because he has the most freedom to move. So again, we'll show you guys the head moves, ball jointed shoulders, elbows also ball jointed, very nice. The legs ball jointed, knees are ball jointed, and that's your POA on these figures. And it's also really good. Again, like I'm very impressed how much these things move and with what they chose, because when I think like 5 points figures, it's very basic. It's like the classic style counter-action figures, doesn't move too well, but these figures have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points articulation in a $10 figure. That's pretty darn loaded in my opinion. So unfortunately, I can't really show you guys how all the accessories look in their hands, because like their hands are problematic too. I mean, I think I could get this water thing in Katara's hand over here, but she's not gonna be able to stand up with that weight, so I'm just not even gonna bother. But the one thing that is sadly missing from this series is a Momo, and this is a Diamond Select Momo. There's no Momo here with Aang. What's up with that? Why is there no Momo? This toy needs Momo. It's kind of a crime that there's no Momo included here. There should be one. This Diamond one is pretty great though. I mean, and luckily it's, he's a little too big, I'd say, for Aang, but he doesn't scale off that far apart. I mean, I'll show you guys how it looks with him on his shoulder. Actually even getting this on his shoulder is not too bad, but you can see now, head-wise, wow, Momo's strong. Well, here it is with Katara. I mean, it's not too far off from the scale that it should be. So, if you wanted to interchange them, you could, but maybe not the best idea. Hopefully they do make another Momo that's closer to scale. Goodbye, Aang. Now let's get the piece de resistance from this line out. That would be this big boy here, this oppa. So Diamond Select has not given us an oppa yet, and from, we talked in the past about this. There will probably be an oppa in some form, but it won't necessarily be scaled with the action figures. They've discussed like maybe doing an oppa bank, which would be at least something, it would be close, but yeah, this is an oppa, and it is huge, it is beautiful, and I love him. He's got some really great texture on his fur. You guys can see it right here, like on the entire body, on the head. This is a really great piece of sculpting here. Just all around, really nice toy. Love the detail on him. Now, I believe he is a $20 figure, so he's a pretty hefty boy for 20 bucks, all things considered. And McFarlane's doing pretty good at making very large accessories and vehicles even be not like super expensive. The downside, though, about this oppa is that his articulation is very, very limited. In fact, you can see right now, here's the head. That moves awkwardly, and it just can move left to right. Or really just kind of rotates left to right, I should say. You get that, and you get a tail, which is ball jointed. And that's about all it can really do, which I'll show you guys the underside of oppa too. It's really nice. He's got little beans. Look at his beans on his toes and his feet. Like, how cute is that? That's the underside of oppa. Really cool there. Nice texture as well. So one downside about this oppa, something I was hoping to get, was maybe a moving jaw, and I don't think it articulates. It looks like it does not, and that's too bad. Oh no, actually, I take that back. His jaw does move up and down a little bit here. It's not a lot, but it is something. So, all right, we get that. It's just a little stiff out the box again, but hey, it works. I didn't know that was there. That's awesome. That makes me excited. It's also really nice that he has this section up here where you can sit all your figures, and that's what we're going to do in a few moments. But first, I want to do a little bit of a comparison to the Diamond Select figures. So here are a pair of Aangs, and yeah, I'm going to have them both leaning on oppa because they both actually have issues standing here. So let's keep in mind the price difference here. The Aang from McFarlane Toys is a $10 figure. The one here from Diamond Select on this side is like a $24 figure or something like that. It's a lot more expensive. So because it is much more expensive, you're getting a lot more points of articulation. Like, this is easily double the points of articulation that you're getting here from the $10 McFarlane one. Now, these Diamond Select ones were sculpted by Eamon O'Donoghue, and I think he did a really good job. In fact, these Aangs, they look pretty similar, which is good. The biggest difference here is the paints. And I think this is across the board. All the Diamond ones are a little bit more muted, or at least in this case, they're more muted. I think it's similar, though, to what we're going to see with the other characters. But the colors are a little bit more muted on Diamond Select's figures. They're a lot brighter on the McFarlane ones. Outfit-wise, there's interestingly less texture on this Aang too, and we're going to see how it's like across the board for the other figures. But what does kind of got me a little rattled too is the fact that in terms of size, they're actually like almost identical in size. So that's weird because they probably shouldn't be, but that's also kind of a point because Diamond did a better job actually getting these guys to be different heights in their lineup. So we're going to see how that kind of scales up across the board. So let's move on to two other figures. Let's bring in our Kataras now. Let's see how they look side by side. And now you can see when I talk about the size difference because keep in mind how the McFarlane Katara was much closer in height to Aang. And in this case around, you can see that, yeah, Katara is very, very big compared, the Diamond Katara is very big compared to this McFarlane one. And again, as a point of reference, let me just put them again side by side. There's the two Aangs, so you can see what's going on here. The size difference is actually much better. And I know a lot of folks complain even about the size differences with these figures, but you're really getting a very, very minor one with the McFarlane toys. So taking a look at the heads as well, the Diamond figures are also a little bit more stylized. They're not really quite as cartoon-like, whereas now you're kind of seeing it's actually a little more oversimplified with the McFarlane ones. I like how Katara's hair on the Diamond Select one is also a little more active and energetic. It's actually kind of in movement. That part is cool. Whereas this one, it's a lot more static. But you can see the difference in the texture. This Katara from McFarlane has a lot more texture on the outfit than the one from Diamond Select does. It's somehow more detailed, in fact, which is funny because it's a smaller size figure, but it actually has a little more detail in it. So that's kind of like a point to them. But what she is missing is this accessory here, among other things, because that's the thing we'll discuss in one more moment. But, she's missing this here. Of course, the articulation's a pretty big difference, too. So let's move on to our last comparison for this wave, because there's no Season 1 Zuko yet. So I don't really want to compare Zuko to Zuko's. But here is our McFarlane Sokka, and here's our Diamond Select Sokka. And again, he is much taller, and they both have issues standing. I'm not going to really try and get them together, but he is significantly taller. Neither one of them really have good faces, in my opinion. Sokka is a lot more of a happy kind of character, happy-go-lucky kind of character. These faces are both very stoic, very serious. Don't really like either one. I think in this case, the McFarlane head is actually way superior. Like this one, to me, it's just not that good of a head. It's really not that great of a head. Doesn't do much for me. Body-wise, too, it's interesting because they kind of went completely different directions here. Whereas this Sokka has like the actual tape on him. This one, it is tape still, but it's a lot more textured, and it might be unnecessarily textured, really. There's also a lot more paint application on this one here with the Diamond figure, because you can see like the boots have a lot more going on, whereas Sokka's boots on McFarlane toys don't really have much of anything going on. Paint is really the biggest difference here between these guys, and I think also the heads, as I already mentioned. So, and they both do have their little boomerang pouches, which is nice, but another key difference here is that because this Diamond toy is a lot more expensive, you get this knife as well. And it's worth noting, too, that all of the figures here, all the Diamond Select figures, I should say, came with a lot more stuff. They all came with bases. They all came with additional accessories. I think they all had some hands, too, in there to do different things, so a few more hands. Whereas Katara had, like, this little thing here, the Katara from Diamond Select had an enormous water effect, which you're not getting here. So that's really one of the biggest things you're missing out on, will be the really cool bending effects that you get with the Diamond figures. So there you guys have it. That's all 4 of our McFarlane figures with the Oppa, all together in one shot now. And I really wanted to test actually how many characters could fit inside Oppa, and sadly it is only 1. You're going to only really get 1 character inside that Oppa. That part, kind of lame, unfortunate, but, keep in mind again, McFarlane's doing a great job of keeping their costs down with these figures, and if they're going to make an Oppa that fit everybody, we're now talking like a $50, $60 item minimum, because it's going to be enormous. I mean, it would basically be taking up the entire space of all these figures together right now. So, yeah, it'd be great to have that. I wish we had an Oppa that big, but realistically, I guess it's just something that's not going to happen. But otherwise, I think it's actually a pretty good lineup. I do have some issues, as you guys heard, with the articulation, with them being able to stand up. But, outside of that, they look really good. They do look very, very great. I like the heads on all of them. I like the texture, I like the sculpting, I like the paint jobs on them. There's really, while I do have some complaints, for a $10 figure, I'm very happy with them. And like I said, McFarlane does have 7-inch versions with some more detail, more articulation, more accessories. I don't like those really that much. I think I prefer these. Having seen both of them in stores, I think I much prefer this scale because the price point is just nicer. It's cool to have some figures in this scale. And really, I just think McFarlane did a very, very nice job overall. These are really good figures. Definitely worth picking up if you're an Avatar fan. If you don't collect 5-inch figures even, because I don't really collect 5-inch figures. I have a few I've done reviews with, but I'm not really a hardcore collector of the scale. I say even in spite of that, if you collect mostly 6 inches or whatever, it's fine. I'd still recommend getting them. And in fact, just for the heck of it, I'm going to put in this Bray Wyatt here to show you guys just how much bigger he is compared to them. So, you know, he won't really fit in that well with these figures and vice versa. But they're kids after all, and for the most part, this is going to be a kid-friendly line. It's going to be a lot of smaller characters. We'll see what happens if they ever get to like Iroh or Ozai or other adults. But, you know, really, this scale, I think it's fine. I think it's perfect for what it is. And it's a good, affordable addition to your Avatar collection. So I definitely give this a recommend. In spite of the flaws, and that flaw does include a lack of Momo. In fact, I'm just going to put our Momo right here. Because why the heck not? I'm going to just include him in here. And in spite of the fact that most of the accessories cannot fit with their hands because their hands are all really stiff. So, yeah, overall, though, I'm still saying $10. Go for it. Good for kids, good for adults. Yeah, just very solid. And I hope they continue this line because there's a lot more characters they could do, and I want them to get to it. So that's our look at the McFarlane 5-inch versions of Avatar The Last Airbender Wave 1. If you want to pick these up, they're available from Walmart. And I think a few other places. I'll let you guys know in the links in the description, you know, what's available. But yeah, definitely worth checking these guys out. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today. And don't forget to drink your cactus juice today. It's the quenchiest.